Welcome to this pre-market analysis video of the 12th May 2025. In this video, I'm going to analyze pre-market biggest movers and their catalysts and see if they were tradable and how they could have been traded. If you're new here, I am sharing my journey learning trading, focusing on catalyst-based day trading, especially in the pre-market, and swing trading. And I'm looking to develop an edge over news and catalysts. So if this is something that interests you, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. So today's pre-market session was marked by multiple movers on crypto and Bitcoin related catalysts. So we're going to break them down and see how they moved. The first stock that we're going to look into is FRGT. So FRGT had a breaking news at 8:30, and the headline was that FRGT was to purchase additional $1 million of Trump tokens, which are Trump cryptocurrency. So from reading the headline itself, without even looking at the article, it strikes me as hype. But let's look into the article and let's give it a chance. So the article here says that the headline, FRGT is to purchase additional $1 million of Trump token, and just says, oh, what's the company? The company is a logistic management innovation company offering a diverse portfolio of technology-driven solutions, blah, blah, blah. And it is to issue 2 additional convertible notes for $1 million for purchasing Trump tokens. So I'm really looking for something additional in the article, and if there is nothing more than just this information, I don't think this is an information that is going to take the stock much higher. It's not a game-changing headline. It's not a game-changing information. So let's see. So what does it say here? Javier Selgas, chief executive, blah, 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 continues investment into Trump, puts us at the intersection of finance and advocacy, blah, 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 while Mexican president, blah, blah, blah. Then chief, we completed the purchase of Trump. So it's just really, that's what it is. The news is just the headline that they are to purchase this 1 million convertible notes. And they are excited to deepen their cryptocurrency treasury. Okay, that's good. But again, this news is not, first of all, it's not related to Bitcoin itself. So it would have been stronger if they were purchasing Bitcoin, because there is a Bitcoin is currently seen as bullish. So it would have been a better news. So it's trying to capitalize on the Trump hype and the cryptocurrency hype, and therefore I didn't see it as very bullish for the stock. And actually, when we look at the price action, it does reflect that. So let's look at the chart. Okay, so here we're looking at the pre-market chart of FRGT, and you can see that as the news, well, actually the stocks start moving a little bit before the news broke out, but then when the news broke out, the stock started going a bit higher. I don't like the shape of these green candles with these top and tails. Shows that there's a lot of selling pressure. And you can also see that there are 2 red candles, very bearish candles on decent volume, very, very shortly. So, I mean, this is a 1-minute chart. So all of this is within 5 minutes. And so I don't see the usual bullishness that I would see in strong stocks. And then I also don't see the sideways action that I would usually be looking for in order to start to trade a stock. But I rather here see many red candles. So a lot of selling pressure. It goes below VWAP here. It tries to go back higher, but it rejects and it goes even lower. So this is really not a good price action, but I could tell without even looking at the price action that this was not going to be, it was going to be hyped and then it was going to go down. And this is kind of what happened. So it went a little bit sideways towards the end of the pre-market session. At the market open, you can see it went up a little bit. This is clearly a false breakout, goes down, touches VWAP, tries to go up, but like on, yeah, I mean, on low green volume. And there's many big red candles on very big volume. Like for example, this one here, this one was okay, but you know, the volume was decent, but this one is already, it's a very strong rejection. So that is an indicator that there's a lot of selling pressure, probably short sellers as well. And that, yeah, the news is just simply not great. Now, the next stock we're going to look into is KDLY or Kindly or Kindly. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But anyway, it's a healthcare company, and it was the biggest mover in terms of volume and in terms of gain pre-market. It actually made an impressive 500% move pre-market on, again, a crypto-related breaking news. So we're going to look into the news now. The news was, yeah, it broke out at 7 a.m. And the headline was that it was going to merge with a Bitcoin native holding company in the view, or in order to create a Bitcoin treasury. So anyway, we're going to open the news, the article. David Bailey and Bitcoin native holding company Nakamoto announced merger with Kindly MD to establish Bitcoin treasury. Now, the headline there suggests that, first of all, it's Bitcoin related, and it is, just on that basis, it is bullish. But how bullish is it? That remains to be determined, reading the details of the news. But it is already on. It is already in my books a positive, and more positive than the previous example of something related to, you know, Trump token, Trump cryptocurrency, something related to, you know, politics. That's the first thing. Now, if we look into the details, so it says here that it raised $510 million PIPE, which is private investment in a public equity, essentially raising money through private investment, but when it happens for a publicly traded company like Kindly. So it raised an impressive 510 million for this, and a 200 million in convertible notes, marking the largest capital raise to launch a Bitcoin treasury and the largest PIPE for any public crypto-related transaction. So this sub-headline is, or a summary, I'm not sure how you call this, is also very bullish because of the numbers that I'm seeing. It's nearly 700 million of raised money for this particular transaction. And the second thing I see there is they're talking about a Bitcoin treasury. So this is more of a strategic long-term vision to adopt Bitcoin in their treasury. In fact, to create a Bitcoin treasury, establish that, which is different from just having, you know, some Bitcoin in your balance sheet. It's really a strategic move in my view. Then the article goes and talks about David Bailey, and I actually did not know this person, but the fact that they mentioned his name as a lead in the headline initially, and then also mentioned it in the article, just suggests to me that this is an important person. And after doing some research, I actually found out that he is a known figure actually in the crypto world. So he's the CEO of BTC Inc. And other crypto related companies, and he is involved. He is to lead the combined company as a CEO. So that's another layer to add to the bullishness of this news. And then it says here that the transaction reflects shared belief in Bitcoin long-term value and positions the combined company as a leading public market Bitcoin treasury. And so when we look into even more details, I remember it was saying something about advocating for, okay, so let's find out. A leading provider integrated, it was entered into a definite merger agreement. Usually mergers are not, they could have a hype, an initial reaction, but they are not extremely bullish, because they don't always translate. First of all, they're uncertain, and then they don't, if the transaction is not finalized, but also because they do not translate into immediate earning potentials or any particular financial gain. But in this particular case, it's different because of the reasons that I mentioned before. So anyway, Nakamoto is a new holding company founded by David Bailey in partnership with BTC. Nakamoto seeks to build the first. So you see now, this KDLY company is merging with a company that has even a broader vision or a broader strategic positioning, because it is seeking to build the first global network of Bitcoin treasury companies. So it says there, this is the first step in Nakamoto vision for an ecosystem of Bitcoin native companies, including media, advisory, and financial services that exist to accelerate Bitcoin adoption and utility. So yeah, I see there's a lot of, strategic position in there. That's actually very bullish. And the fact that it is related to something that's already bullish, which is Bitcoin. The combined company will aim both to accumulate Bitcoin and grow the Bitcoin owned on a per share basis on Bitcoin or Bitcoin yield through a variety of equity, debt, and other offerings. This merger gives the public market exposure to Bitcoin within a compliant, transparent structure backed by a uniquely experienced Bitcoin management team, including a partnership with one of the world's largest influential Bitcoin marketing platforms. So it's essentially through this merger, they will give the public exposure to Bitcoin, but in a compliant, transparent structure. That's what they're saying anyway. So, and then it goes and explains further probably the PIPE financing, how many investors it attracted. It attracted 200 investors. The names of these investors, they even talk about including global investment firms. So, to give further endorsement, if you will, to this, like showing that institutional investors got involved and got interested. The number itself is very impressive, of course, but the fact that they were institutional investors adds to the credibility of this particular project and this particular transaction, particular merger. And then Nakamoto is building the first publicly traded conglomerate, etc., etc. This merger represents a strategic leap for kindly allowing us to expand honestly, just reading the first part, I can tell it is very bullish, and it's definitely more bullish, as I said, than any small headline related to buying some Bitcoin or getting some extra tokens or things like that. So okay, now let's see how the stock reacted. Okay, so here is the KDLY chart, or kindly, honestly, I don't know. And if you remember, I told you that the news broke out at 6:30, okay? But as you can see, the move started, the stock started basically moving much earlier. So, and it was start moving pretty badly. Like, have a look here as, so this is a 400% move. Let's see, 420% move between, in 19, is it 19 minutes? In 20 bars, so 20 minutes. Okay. From 7 to 20 past 7, 400% move, and there was no news. That's because probably somebody had the news, knew about this news before its release, and this actually happens sometimes. But I haven't seen anything as dramatic as a 400% move on no news whatsoever, because there was a leak of the news. So this is really the first time I see this. But obviously, like I saw the stock moving. I checked the news and there was no news there. Then the news broke out at 7:30, and you can see there 7:30 was here, and yeah, it was actually just after the stock started selling off on kind of low volume, but yeah, okay. What I saw here is, first of all, I saw that the stock was very strong. A 400 move cannot happen for no reason. Sometimes there are pump and dumps, but I've rarely seen a pump and dump of 400% on no particular move in a matter of 20 minutes. That's very, very impressive. So I genuinely thought there is something happening there, and let's watch it. And then when the news broke out, the stock started going sideways. Very tight, as you can see, very tight. There is this little red candle here, but actually on very low volume, as you can see, and not such a strong red candle. Actually didn't take the stock lower, and it wasn't followed by more red candles. Not sure what happened here. Yeah, okay, there you go. And so I thought, okay, this is a very bullish news. Something strange happened before, but some very interesting price action. Let's enter. So here's where I roughly entered. I entered on this green candle here, somewhere in the middle, and yeah, and just watch the stock going up. And the stock, as you can see, I actually captured this particular move here. So from here, roughly, actually a little bit lower, until here. Now you could argue that, I could have captured much more, but I wasn't. This is something that I'm still trying to figure out on when to exit a position. This is a pretty decent move anyways, but when to exit a position depends, for me, I suppose, on the potential of the move. So say if this would not have happened, so the 400% would not have happened before the news broke out, and if the news was there already and the stock started going up, then if you enter early enough, you can, I think there is, with these kinds of news, there is room for a few 100%. I've seen this a couple of times, a few 100% move. But in this particular case, I didn't feel that there was much more room, because the bulk of the move already happened. To be honest, more of that happened afterwards. So let's say from my starting point until here, that's 70%. That's pretty decent. That's not too bad. But when you enter a position and already on a stock that already was up 400%, you have to ask yourself, how much more potential does it have? And usually if you're able to capture 20, 30, 40%, that's very good. Try to get, especially in the current market environment where things can reverse very quickly, and you can lose your gains. if you don't actually realize them. So this was my thinking, but it was still a very good opportunity. Pretty happy with this. And then obviously it was just way too extended. So there was, at the market open, there was a lot of profit taking. Let's see here. So the whole move was a 530, roughly 530%. So that's a pretty extended. It actually does, anything can happen in the market. Okay, it does have potential to go higher, but not in this particular case, and you just have to wait for the market to tell you what it's going to do. So here you can see it's sold off a little bit at the market open, which is kind of to be expected, on an okay volume. So it wasn't like you know, some big red candles, but then it starts surfing on the VWAP here, which would indicate that maybe it can go a bit higher. It could have, but you see, it didn't. There was no breakout, which is to see a big green candle on volume, of course. That was, you know, that followed this kind of sideways surfing on the VWAP line. So that's why, you know, I just thought, okay, the move already happened, it's fading, because probably the market thought that it was really overextended, and it was an overreaction to the news. But still, the stock actually settled at around, in fact it is currently at $11.4. No, that's actually the pre-market, but at the close I think it was not. Where do I read this? Not sure. Is it this one here? That's the post-market number, I think. But anyways, yeah, it settled at around $14. So that's already, you know, from $4 to $14. That's very decent. But it would have been, say, if you would have bought the stock after the news somewhere here, $19. I mean, yeah, it went a little bit lower than that. Now on this particular stock, I don't know yet, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it in the next days, because this catalyst can be sometimes a multi-day catalyst. It doesn't have to be just a one day move. It can be multiple days, but it's something that has to be watched, especially when the stock has faded during the market session, like in this case. So it is worth keeping an eye on it and watching it. By the way, guys, I hope you are able to follow my way of speaking. You may have guessed that English is not my first language, and so sometimes I'm searching for the words. I'm trying to gather my thoughts and translate them into my head. So anyways, I really hope that this is not too painful for you and that you're able to follow and understand me. And of course, if you have any suggestions for me on how to improve, and I'm sure I'll be better with time as I do this more often, obviously. Now, the next stock we're going to look into is GRYP, Griffin Digital Mining Inc., which is yet another stock that moved on a crypto related breaking news. So the news broke at 6:30, and the headline was that Griffin Digital Mining announced merger with American Bitcoin. So if we open the article again, this is an announcement of a merger. So at a first glance, it sounds similar to the KDLY news. So it's a merger and it's related to Bitcoin. But when we look into the details, it's actually not so similar. Anyway, so what does it say? It says here that Griffin Digital Mining, which is an innovative venture in the Bitcoin mining space. So essentially, it's a Bitcoin mining company, announced today that it has entered into a definite merger agreement with American Bitcoin Corporation, which is a Bitcoin accumulation platform focused on building America's Bitcoin infrastructure backbone. What does that mean? Yeah, I'm not quite sure. It's a little bit different from the other headline, which was more precise and actually showed a more of a strategic vision. But anyways, so it says here, pursuant to which Griffin will acquire American Bitcoin in a stock-to-stock merger. So just the details of the transaction. Upon closing, the combined company will operate under the American Bitcoin brand, led by the management and board director of American Bitcoin. The combined company is expected to trade on the NASDAQ under the ticker ABTC. Okay, so here just the team announcement. The Griffin team is pleased to offer blah blah blah. America earlier this year in a partnership with Eric Trump. It's yeah. There is another, I suppose. It is a little bit related to Trump, because there is a partnership here with Eric Trump, with the goal of building the world's largest, most efficient pure play Bitcoin miner alongside a robust strategic Bitcoin reserve. Okay, it does sound on a surface level, it does sound similar to the previous the previous news, but there are actual differences, key differences that don't make it the same, but at the same time the price action will tell a different story. So let's look at the price action now. Okay, so now we're looking at the price action of GRYP around 5:30 when the news broke. Of course, start going up. And so this is the 1 minute chart, and as you can see, on actually very decent volume, very good volume. But then you see on the third, is it the third minute? Yeah, so 6:32. On the third candle, you see a very, very big rejection, a very big. These top and tails are very bearish. Just shows that, yeah, the price went all the way nearly to $5, and it went down in less than a minute, all the way down to $2, from $5 to $2. That usually is very bearish. So for this reason alone, I would not trade the stock. I will just not trade it, because I would feel very uncomfortable trading something that had such a big rejection early on in the move as well. And then the other reasons, like if you look into the news in more details, it is not as bullish as you may think. So let's look into this. So why is the news related to GRYP weaker than the one related to KDLY, since both were news related to Bitcoin and both were a merger news? Well, so for GRYP, first of all, this is a merger between Griffin Mining, which is a mining company, and American Bitcoin, which is also, I think, a mining company. So what does it say here? It says a Bitcoin accumulation platform focusing on building America's Bitcoin infrastructure backbone, which I already, as I was reading this, I already said, I don't like when companies are in their news release and press releases talking in those general terms, but not specifically saying what they're doing. But I actually think that American Bitcoin is a mining company. So this is a sector focused, sector concentrated transaction. It is within the same sector, and it's within a volatile sector. Unlike the news about KDLY, which was not the same thing. That KDLY is a healthcare company, and it was merging with a new company that actually had a vision. So there is no diversification here, and there is no new narrative, no new vision, strategic vision. Apparently the crypto mining businesses are not, there's, I mean, even though they are related to Bitcoin, but they are not as bullish as actual Bitcoin, because they are very much dependent on energy prices. So that was another reason why it's not so great. And as I said, it was lacking this strategic vision. The merger between Kingsley and Nakamoto was going to establish a Bitcoin treasury. I don't see any of that in this news here. Like they're not, it doesn't show that it is going to translate into anything earning wise. I mean, this latest news. And I didn't see any, unlike with the previous news, I don't see any big investment, any big number. So it was definitely, all in all, not as bullish. But even if you don't even have this understanding or the intuition after you see many Bitcoin related news or any sort of any particular theme, you can have a look at the price action and tell also, you know, in combination, in the context of the news, and tell if this is the news that's actually moving the stock higher or not. And from the price action of GRYP, it was already showing serious signs of weaknesses. In particular, that third candle, which was very bearish, like a very big rejection of nearly $3 in less than a minute. That's noticeable. So yeah, so I suppose that's about it in terms of all the stocks that moved, especially crypto related. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like, subscribe, and please feel free to comment. You know, any suggestions, anything to add to the conversation. Share your experience as well if you're on a similar journey. I'd love to read your comments, and thanks for watching.